Welcome to the Natural History Cupboard. Come on in.
And welcome back to the Natural History Cupboard podcast, the place where the weird and wonderful parts of the natural world come together. I'm your host, Gareth, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Aaron. Aaron, say hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
What have you been up to this week?
Actually, not a lot.
Oh,
I have been doing something really special.
What's that?
Failing at technology.
But that's fair enough. That's, I always tend to fail at technology a bit. The only thing that I've got for this week that's vaguely animal related is I'm playing host to some Vietnamese mossy frogs.
That's cool.
For a day.
Cool.
Sort of on-stop courier.
I saw a fox. That's the only thing I've done. I've seen a fox.
Cool. Actually, saying that, I will have to try and put some footage up at some point. But the parents-in-law have got a fox cub that is hanging around in their garden, becoming more bold and quite happy to be there whilst they're there. And I'm hoping at some point in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to sit out in the garden and try and film it up close.
That would be cool.
Because I've never really got up close to a red fox, other than sort of driving past them briefly in London. I was amazed by how many are in such a small area in a city. But country foxes, it's hard enough to see them.
I don't know if you remember this. We did have a fox that was a fan of ours at the I forget what talk it was, but it used to turn up to that talk every day.
Actually, that is up until that point, that is the closest I've ever got to a fox cub. So at the zoo we worked out, there was a fox cub that started off hanging around the back of our sort of animal encounter, animal show area that we used to have, where we would sit before we were starting having our show. And at one point that became sort of our meeting spot where we'd just go and have our lunch actually out the back of that sort of staged area. And then it got to a point where it was quite happily wandering out into the middle of it.
It was our number one fan before we had a podcast.
That was I got some really nice pictures of that fox, which I'll hopefully put up here, so you can see those. And they're really, really quite cool. Oh, hello.
There's someone's
Someone's coming in for the cupboard.
Come in.
They found us. Ladies and gentlemen, making his debut into the physical cupboard is the one and only Drew.
I'll move up.
Hello.
Hello, Drew.
Come in.
Hello there. You stop manspreading. Good. Hello.
It's a little bit tight.
A bigger sofa.
Well, that went well, wasn't it? It was entirely scripted.
Yeah. No, completely natural.
I heard you talking about foxes, and obviously I left on foxes, so I'm back.
Oh, that's what it was. We summoned you.
Why are there so many padlocks on your door? What are you keeping in here?
We don't want the government getting us.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I got
We've become conspiratorial, you know.
All right. Well,
yeah. Well, what are you doing here?
I don't know.
we have no idea either.
I don't actually know. I'm not sure. I've been trying to get in for quite a long time. I've just managed to succeed.
Fair enough. Well, with this totally unscripted bit.
Yes, you can clearly tell it's not.
Should we move into the news?
I guess so.
Let's do it.
See what happens.
Well, the headline is Drew back in the cupboard.
Oh, we've done it there. We just skip the news.
Okay.
It's the news.
Right, well, we're into this week's news. As you can see, things have become a little bit different, mostly because we couldn't all fit on one couch.
No.
So, Aaron, tell us about the this week's news.
Yeah, well, every week, the weird and wonderful world of natural history offers up an embarrassment of riches when it comes to news and interesting stories coming from the natural world. And though we're a slightly bigger team this week.
We've come out of the shadows.
Still a small team, nonetheless. We aim to keep you guys up to date on the good, the exciting, the odd, and everything else in between. So let's open up the Natural History Cupboard newsreel and dive on into some of the more interesting headlines. And I think
Drew can start us off.
First. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Mine will link into the reason I'm actually here, which is
Oh,
Not because I just stumbled upon this place or I was even asked to. They haven't asked me to come back in all the time that I've been away.
rubbish.
I came back. I begged to come back to do a creature feature for this week, and my news article does link to it. So the news article is titled "Hairy Hogs and Longhorn Cattle Act as Living Lawnmowers to Help Rare Butterfly." So this is from The Independent, but a lot of other outlets have covered it. So this is a project by Butterfly Conservation and the National Trust on Exmoor, and they aim to create habitat for the high-brown fritillary, which has seen numbers plummet. So Butterfly Conservation said its work on Exmoor builds on the success it has already had conserving the high-brown fritillary at nearby Dartmoor, where it recorded a 20-year high in the population. 20-year high in the population in 2022 after years of work. I'm rusty, unlike these two. They've had loads of practice with this. So the charity has identified 10 other National Trust sites where new colonies of high-brown fritillary could establish, but it says it needs to do further survey work and planned landscape restoration, and is appealing for donations to support the project. And a bit of a spoiler, this article, as I said, links very well with the creature feature for this week.
There's a hint. So
Yeah.
I am going to go with a article from IFL Science, and it is "Get a load of fancy headgear on this new 78-million-year-old dinosaur." This is the lovely news of a new ceratopsian, that's the horned dinosaurs, called Lokiceratops regalius.
Cool name.
Do the horns do, for benefit of audio people, I'm doing Loki horns where they bend back.
The helmet from Marvel, which is
Yeah.
a good point actually. Is
It
it Loki
doesn't.
from Marvel?
It's
or is
not
it
Loki from Marvel. No.
What
So
a
I'll
wastage.
show you two a picture here, and I'll bring a picture up behind us.
Okay.
It's been described as sort of caribou-esque, which in a way it kind of is. It's got these bizarre sort of banana-shaped horn adornments at the top of its frill.
I can see the likeness to Marvel's Loki.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah,
Also, I like how you'll see in the photo, I guess, that you can see that it's green but with gold horns.
Maybe that's what the artist has gone for with that one. That is Fabrizio Lavazzi. But I probably butchered that, as I always do. This is a fantastic 6.7 meter long ceratopsian with these really quite nice horns. It's a member of the Centrosaurine family, which is the group of ceratopsians I think has the most elaborate horns and head crests and everything like that. It basically means, if you couldn't have guessed from the name, Loki's horned face. And it's come from Montana, and it's said that the frill are asymmetrical, much like that of the antlers of caribou. Is where the caribou reference are coming in. But yeah, fantastic new ceratopsian.
They like mythological creatures or characters for ceratopsians, don't they? Medusa ceratops. Yeah,
they've gone with that a few times. And this one actually has come suggested to us by one of our long-term listeners, fantastic listener as well, because she sent us so many things over the years. Louise O'Leary. So thank you very much for that. And just a shout to anyone who does want to send us news articles. We do eventually get round to them and do usually use them. So thank you very much.
And my newsreel item and the last newsreel item before we get into the main topic this week's going to be slightly different. Maybe I should do this one in a voice. I've chosen this one specifically for you, actually, for the fact that the three of us are here together, but because you're a big fan as well. And this one comes to us from Live Science. So I'll try and do my best voice for this. 100-foot tree. I've already got it wrong. So 100-foot walking tree in New Zealand looks like an ent from Lord of the Rings. And is the lone survivor of a lost forest. So much like Treebeard stumbling into the region of Fangorn that Sauron's orcs had laid waste to. I got that wrong too. It's actually Saruman's orcs laid waste to that part of Fangorn. It was late when I had to
your nerd credentials in at the door.
I had to rewrite this like really early in the morning. So this is Saruman's orcs. Not that that's important to the tree. This northern rata tree appears to be striding across a treeless land with an air of nobility and loneliness. Walking tree, as it is nicknamed, belongs to the tallest flowering tree species native to New Zealand. and has been honoured this year with the 2024 Tree of the Year award.
Nice.
Let's hope this fantastic specimen gets to see more ant-like companions over the course of its 1,000-year lifespan. And
hopefully it find its end wives.
I was going to say, hopefully the ant wives aren't completely lost. But it's a really cool tree, as you'll probably be able to see from the photo behind me.
I do like how New Zealand. I mean, there's not much I dislike about New Zealand in a lot of ways. I don't know why I'm even living in this country, really. But that's a whole that's a whole other. But they have the bird of the year, which the Puteki Teki won last year or this year. I can't remember whether it was, and they've got a tree of the year as well. I think that's brilliant how they celebrate their wildlife and their ecosystems around them. We should definitely have more of that. I think. Do we have a bird of the year competition in the UK? It's usually
If
run by
not,
something
then
like
maybe
a
we
robin.
should start one up. Actually, not to
I'm worried that it would be misconstrued, though, wouldn't it?
Bird of the year.
in the UK. Yeah,
It's usually on page 3, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not a thing.
I don't know. I don't read the Sun.
I was
Or
going to say you'd hope that the sun isn't a thing anymore, but it apparently is. Not to kind of expand upon the newsreel items too much, but do you guys know what a northern rata tree is and what it does?
No idea.
No, I can't think of what
So
it
it's a really cool tree. The reason why this tree looks
Can you
like
put up a
pen.
picture and we can look at it?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
So what you'll be able to see from the photo right now is that basically it looks like a tree with 2 legs, and what's basically happening is the northern rata tree. It's a tree that grows in the mid canopy, so it grows in like the kind of y-axis, the split of a tree. So this tree would have been growing, a northern rata would have seeded where the branches are, and what it does is it grows up a little bit first, and then it sends aerial roots down to the ground. And it just so happens that in this case, it sent it down in kind of
leg-like position.
yeah, and it's really
So it's
cool.
like a strangler fig then.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
Nice.
Oh, and sorry, I forgot I was the last one to do it. So that about wraps it up for this week's edition, so to speak, of the Natural History Cupboard newsreel. Guys, remember, if you at home have interesting topics or items that you'd like us to discuss here, like Louisa Leary did, please send them on in to us. You can do it in any of the normal ways. The social media, the email, smoke signals, anything like that. Send an ent.
Might take a while to get
it.
in.
Might take a while before they even decide to come. And you might just see your topic or article covered here or in our natural history news discussion. And with that said, this week's topic is with me. And I'm afraid I've gone 2024 without doing any bad news, I think it's mainly been you. You've been.
I've been the bad news person.
Yeah.
So I've returned, and you're now going to do some.
Unfortunately, yeah.
To
right off a
mess
cliff.
up my creature feature. Bring us right.
Oh, your creature feature,
Yeah.
the species is so beautiful. I think it's going to bring us back up. But it is bad news. It's not what anybody wants to hear, unfortunately, because it's taken a shot at what is, for conservationists and animal lovers everywhere, something of an establishment. It's the oldest animal-based charity in the UK, I think, in the world.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, then
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
So this is how. Well, yeah, it's in the headline. How Britain's oldest animal welfare charity became a byword for cruelty on an industrial scale. Now, the article is in The Guardian. It's written by George Monbiot. I don't think I've pronounced his surname
George
properly.
Monbiot.
Monbiot, is it? Well, apologies. But basically, this article discusses supporting the RSPCA as its 200th birthday approaches, shrouded in the cloud of controversy that it is. It appears that the Animal Rising organisation undertook the first wide-scale investigation of RSPCA assured farms and returned with quite distressing results. Now, for our international listeners, the RSPCA is the Royal Society for the Protection of
the cruelty to animals.
Prevention of cruelty.
Not protecting the cruelty.
Although in this case, it's easy to be confused.
for the punishment and cruelty of animals.
Instead of to protect and
Yeah.
conserve, to
For the-
punish and enslave.
Yeah.
To be fair, they do. The RSPCA is a thing in Australia, and I think it's the same in New Zealand, and it's the ASPCA in America.
There are counterparts across the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course,
So
yeah.
the RSPCA is the British one.
Or
And
the English one, because the Scottish have got their own. Haven't
Yeah.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. So it's
English and
the,
Welsh.
sorry,
they? Always forget about Welsh.
sorry, Scotland. But yeah, the RSPCA is England and Wales. Yeah. And its intention is to prevent cruelty to animals and uphold and support and improve welfare. If you are abusing your pet dog, you will see yourself being prosecuted by these guys more than likely. So they really, what they stand for is amazing. However, they don't necessarily always live up to this. So the RSPCA Assured scheme is basically a certification scheme where the RSPCA are invited by farms that want this to investigate their premises, and if they pass the criteria and they meet the standards of welfare for these animals, whether they're producing dairy, eggs, or meat, the RSPCA will allow them to put a little stamp on all their food packaging that says assured, RSPCA assured. It means that the farmers passed off on standards and these animals live a humane life, and that when their life inevitably ends for the production of food, that it's done so in as humane a fashion as possible. However, might not be the case. According to, how did you say his surname is pronounced?
I think it's George Monbiot.
George Monbiot. Okay, according to George Monbiot's article, this isn't the first investigation of RSPCA assured farms, and it's not the first time they've been called out on how bad it is. But the fact is that while these other investigations in the past have uncovered disgusting animal welfare, they also have been small scale, and the RSPCA was very easily able to basically give out slaps on the wrist and claim that they were isolated incidences. This is, as I say, the first wide-scale investigation undertaken, with 60 investigations taking place across 45 UK farms, all of which boast being RSPCA assured, and they all have the decals on their packaging to show for it. According to the article, there were 280 legal breaches, with many farms failing to achieve the legal animal welfare standards, let alone the standards that are set by the RSPCA. So we've talked about how Biaza works in the past, how in zoos you have to meet standards to be a zoo according to law, but then you have to meet certain extra standards to be accredited, and that's kind of similar for this assured scheme. And these farms aren't even they're not even meeting the
legal
requirements. So this article links to a YouTube video in which you can see a selection of the conditions investigators were met with, and whilst I would say it would be good if you wanted to educate yourself on it, it might be worth watching, but I will say it's very uncomfortable viewing.
Probably the same as the cow thing from last week.
Yeah, it's pretty horrific. No, I would say it goes. I think it's worse.
I suppose it's more educational than the cow being hit by the police car, but at the same time, and probably more.
The cow being hit by the police car is probably ignorance. This is industrial cruelty. This is systemic cruelty, I would say, actually. So in one of the barns, one of the farms, it includes a barn with 64,000 hens contained within it. The footage shows chickens with musculoskeletal problems, and even like one that couldn't even lift its neck, couldn't manipulate its neck to lift its head. Even one hen, at least one hen, lying dead on the floor.
Only one.
Yeah. Well, also pretty sure it looked like it was at least starting to be eaten by
that doesn't surprise me in a lot of ways with chickens.
The next location appears to be another barn, this time with pigs, and I'm not sure because it's only briefly glimpsed, but it definitely looks like there's a dead pig again just lying there on the floor. And the reason why I say it looks dead is it's on its back, it looks bloated, and the legs are stiff up in the air.
Generally
So yeah,
Not how they sleep.
Yeah, no, not.
Yeah.
That's not normally how I.
It's
sleep.
not stunned. It's not sleeping or pining for
No.
the fields.
I thought you guys were trying to be family friendly now.
we are. It's living. The dead pig's living counterparts are so crammed together that they can barely move nor lie down. The chicks are left suffering, completely uncared for. With the the pigs are basically stood on cohabitants that managed to get a line spot. So if there is one lying down, there's another basically stood on it. Fish, salmon farms up in Scotland in horrendous conditions. I think they said there were thousands in these little like cylindrical cages, basically. Yeah, awful. If you watch this footage, you can see in real time the insane levels of animal abuse, but also the potential for disease and pandemic breakouts waiting to happen. I mean, if you want to look at bird flu, I think that there's a very good argument that a factor of it is this nonsense.
Well, factory farming has always been one of those things that allows diseases to mutate, change, and spread a lot faster. I mean, look at SARS and bird flu in parts of Asia where the conditions for farming are far worse, far lower standard, although it's sounding like this is almost on a par with some of those
I would say this is certainly approaching a par, yeah. All the conditions you'll see in these approved RSPCA satisfied farms are in the exact same substandard conditions that would have you, as a pet owner, quite rightly dragged through the legal system and deservedly prosecuted. The RSPCA would do that to you, as I said at the top of this article, but apparently not to their partnered farms. And it is hard to argue that these are isolated cases when the evidence presented so clearly describes a problem that is across the UK. It's not just one or two here that we're talking about. Mombier himself asked the RSPCA about the allegations, to which they said, and I quote from him in his article, "If we stepped back from the RSPCA assured, we risk leaving millions of farmed animals with even less protection." It's a nice soundbite, but the footage. This is me now. This is not the quote. It's a nice soundbite, but the footage, which shows snippets of what the investigation saw, not the whole, it demonstrates that millions of farm animals are currently unprotected. It's hard to imagine how these animals in this video could be any worse than what you see. And so we are essentially left to ask, as their 200th birthday approaches, what happened to the RSPCA? How did they get to this? And I do have a theory, and Mombier's article actually says this as well, that so I feel at least backed up by his words. It's something I've said about that I've said about another animal-based welfare charity in the UK, who failed on several grounds to protect animals. I think they don't want to rock the boat. I think that they just want to let this kind of stuff slide because they don't want, because especially with the government that's in place now, the farming community have quite a powerful voice, although they don't realize that they're also being completely abused by this government. It's a little bit like is it Stockholm syndrome? But yeah, that's the only thing I can think of, is that they don't want to offend these big parties. Big groups. But to leave this news on the only two positive notes I can, firstly, it has definitely made me think very carefully about how I proceed nutritionally. I say this as someone who tries to support farming to a degree. They are trying to feed a nation, but it's not perfect. And there's a lot about farming practices and the culture that surrounds it that I outright disagree with. But all those things I've said before, and I've also stated before that on this podcast that I try to eat a little bit less meat these days, and but to see the animals under active protection of the RSPCA are suffering like this, and to see that it is so widespread, that is quite a rude awakening. There's got to be a better way than what's happening right now. And this, in addition to the new study coming out showing that meat farming actually can never truly be high welfare, even if the animals are humanely kept and dispatched of. I mean, that's a story for another time, but I don't know. Some self-reflection is taking place for me, at least. And secondly, the footage also shows that there was one pig with this massive abscess in the top of his head. It looked like it was in a lot of discomfort, and the team couldn't just believe it. So the team that investigated these farms, they picked it up, they took it back, they got it treated by a vet, and they ended up releasing it onto a paddock that they had for it. And that pig is now for the first time on grass, probably for the first time having a good diet, balanced diet, and it looked dead happy. And the abscess was gone. It looked healthy. So he has a lot of grass now to turf up. So yeah, I'll also say that the team itself that was doing the investigation, they recognised the role that the RSPCA could and should have, and they don't seem to be demanding an end to the organisation, but instead an end to the endorsement of bad welfare practices through that scheme. And I think that's where to leave it. Really, it's not they're not out for blood. They're not calling for the RSPCA's blood. They're just calling for the RSPCA to do what it should be doing.
I would say it's very similar. There's been a lot of very similar accusations to Red Tractor, which is another one that's used in the UK. It's basically a farm assurance thing, very similar to that. That the welfare standards are good. That the food is produced in a certain way. There's been a lot of accusations on a par with that, and I think.
But Gareth, that advert is so fun.
Oh, I know.
It's all cartoons and everything. Everyone's really happy.
George Monbiot actually mentions the RSPCA's adverts, which also had like
everything's grayscale and it's
green. No, everything like it's on lush green grass. These chickens are out in massive fields.
I'm going for the usual one where it's everything's grayscale. There's sad music playing.
The thing.
Yeah.
Oh look, there's that bear having
Kate Bush. That's it. Yeah, a woman's work.
Yeah,
that's playing. But specifically the really high pitched bit. But no, I think
just zooming into a chicken.
Yeah,
zooming into his face, into his bad eyes.
But I think with a lot of these things, it's a lot of them are the people on the ground doing the stuff like investigating and checking. I would say are probably far more aware of what's going on, far more
for sure. This will be
wanting to do stuff, but it will be someone higher up who's got almost nothing to do with the on the ground stuff, and they just or I don't want to rock the boat, don't want to do that, and they'll be quite happy to just go home at the end of the day. But your average investigator is probably tearing their hair out to try and get things changed. Or
it's almost as if this is a problem in every organisation and every sort of big sort of commercial system ever. It's almost as if we need to, I don't know, eat the rich.
He's back.
I'm back, everyone. Eat them.
It does remind me of something. There's the palm oil one. Now I hope with the RSPCA it's a case of not wanting to rock the boat, because all that needs is someone to shake it up and go wake up and go, actually this is not what we stand for. That's far easier to beat than outright corruption. Now with the palm oil one, if I remember right, which is why I'm not going to name the group because it's all about memory here, but they were actually taking money from people to kind of offset
greenwashing.
Bad palm oil practices. So they were certifying these palm oil sources that were actually horrendous for the environment and horrendous for the jungle.
There's a very good John Oliver episode where he talks about carbon offsetting and greenwashing, and it's worth checking out. And I think most of his are available somewhere. At the very least, and definitely worth watching, and also just funny as well.
He's
much funnier than
really
us.
cool stuff. Yeah.
I will say actually on removal of like animals from industrial farms, you'll know, Drew, because both of us work with them. Chickens that have come from like battery farms, coming in initially not knowing what food was, what mealworms were, what the outside was, and now they are the most interactive,
they're great,
well-adjusted, really fun chickens you've ever met.
They're great.
And that's only a best part of a year.
When we had poultry,
it's a shame they're so tasty, but
I know.
I do. I wouldn't. Oh, maybe at the end of their lives, sure.
When we had poultry, 3 of us were hatched from eggs that from my mum's flock, but 2 of them we took from a battery farm, and they were really cool. Like, just to see the awakening in them that actually you can spread your wings. And obviously, I built my enclosure with a nice mesh roof over it as well. So there was perching for them to go up on and stuff. So yeah, it was cool to see them have their awakening of freedom.
Yeah,
So,
there needs to be a bit of a readjustment of farming in some aspects, but that is definitely not a discussion for now. That's
no, because
that's,
we're
hell of a
already
lot.
going a bit long
Yeah.
on this bit, so we'll.
Well, should we shuffle on into to your creature feature, Drew?
Yes,
Yeah,
let's do it.
It's the creature feature.
right. Well, we're into this week's creature feature, which is well, it's brought to us by Drew. Drew, what have you got for us?
Hello. Yes, I'm returned, as you already know, because you've already been listening for about half an hour, maybe. So I said I would be back from time to time, and this week is one of those times. So I am returned by overwhelming popular demand, and that was taken from a controlled group of 1. That one being me. And I'm here to do another creature feature. There's several reasons as to why I want to do this feature now, as well as in at the time of recording and the time when this goes out. So the first is that this species I'm going to cover is a butterfly. We have kind of discussed it a little bit already. As it's summer, we're well into butterfly season, as most butterflies are only out in their adult stage in the summer. The specific butterfly we are going to be covering, of course, is the high brown fritillary, which I alluded to in the news. Adult high browns are only out between late June to the end of July, so sometimes early August. So basically right now, the time of the recording and release is the best time to see them. In fact, sightings of them on Exmoor have only just started this week. The first one was spotted on Monday. And as of recording this is Sunday. So it does mean that they are a little bit late this year. And that's likely due to the wet and cold weather that we've had. Certainly in comparison to last year, where we had if anything, a drought. We had a shortage of rain in April, May. They came out a little bit earlier. But yeah, another reason for me to cover high brown fritillary is that as long-time podcast sufferers or listeners will know, I am an advocate for the native species, and the high brown is considered Britain's most threatened butterfly. It's only found in 4 areas. That's Morecambe Bay in Lancashire and Cumbria, a few sites on Dartmoor, a fewer sites on Exmoor, and there's a single colony in South Wales. That is it. That's all that's in the UK. I will be focusing on the UK when talking about these butterflies, but it is worth mentioning now as well that with many UK species, they are found across from Western Europe all the way through to Japan. And whilst they are declining across much of their range, it's particularly bad here. Obviously.
Shocking.
That is a shocker. No one will be surprised to hear that. I can hear the audible shock of everyone listening. And then, yeah, finally, there is a personal reason that I'm going to cover the high brown today, and that is on the 2nd of July last year, I took my partner to a place nearby on Exmoor with the purpose of proposing to her. It's also one of the few places in the UK that you can find this butterfly, as we mentioned. I think on the day we saw a fair few high browns, but we could only positively identify about 2, and we'll get to identification later. The reason we could only definitively identify a couple is because, as I said, many butterflies are in their adult stage for a short time and have a lot to do within that time frame, so they don't sit around for very long and let you get a good picture. So my partner and I are now married. Our wedding was back in April. I drew animals as placeholders for the reception tables, and the high brown fritillary was the placeholder for our top table. So it's somewhat of a symbol of our marriage.
They were very good drawings, by the way.
Well, I've forgotten what our
really
table
like
was.
I was literally just about to ask you. Do you guys remember what your place?
Yes, it was a European J.
It was a
yes.
I just wanted to,
yes.
because I know that's one of your favourite birds.
Yes.
I've remembered that from
Yes.
our early talks. But it was a really beautiful. I was gonna see if I could nick it back.
Wow.
No, but seriously, I just wanted to add
Actually,
in there.
interesting. Someone did nick one of those pictures, and
Which one?
I'm not going to say.
Oh yeah, because I suppose that would narrow it down.
If
Wouldn't
you're listening, if you've got this one, please bring that back.
Can I just
Don't steal my pictures?
If
Anyway.
I could just jump in on your artwork for just a second longer.
Yeah.
For new listeners or new YouTube viewers,
Who don't even know who I am.
might
How?
not know who Drew
Yay.
is. Yeah, Drew is one of the original
not know who I am.
hosts.
No. Do you have a memory issue?
It was originally the three of us.
Yeah.
But Drew is still a beloved member of our team, but his contributions to the podcast are actually in artwork. So these T-shirts, which are based on they're not based on, they are the
Creatures.
the creature features that we do week on week.
Hmm.
That's Drew's work.
Yeah.
So now you put a face to a voice and a face to the art.
But yes, anyway, that was not in just a few words why I'm going to cover highbrow fritillary today. So less about me because I'm boring, and more about this butterfly. I'm going to make this creature feature somewhat interactive, but not in the roleplay sense that we've done before. Whilst we're going to explore this species, I'm going to quiz the professor and Aaron on their butterfly knowledge and see which one of them we can crown the butter boy.
Butterboy.
So, as neither of them have ever covered a single species of Lepidoptera across the entire run of this podcast, I have absolutely no idea.
Hang on.
No, go on.
Oh no, wait, you did the.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I
you did the
Hawkmoth.
Hawkmoth.
I knew you were going to try and deathhead Hawkmoth, and I was ready for it. I've no idea how little you or how much you know about butterflies. So,
Well, put it this way, I haven't done it because I've left it to more knowledgeable people on that
right,
front.
okay.
I'm not brilliant with them because I always tended to steer away from them because they're too obviously pretty.
I see.
So I went for the cockroaches
you
and the
edge.
crickets. Yeah, I'm
Edgy.
sorry.
No, what an edge.
Indie kid.
Okay, well,
I like moths more
I-
than I do
They're
butterflies.
too pretty.
I am going to make this quite easy, or at least easier, as I've made most of the questions multiple choice. And so feel free to test yourself at home as well.
We
So
have
before-
tiny whiteboards.
Yeah, so the boys have got tiny whiteboards, and we're going to be writing down their answers. But before we start, this podcast obviously is an audio format, but with us also putting this on YouTube, some of this episode will have visual elements to it. So we're not going to spend too much time on this for the benefit of people who are just listening, but there will be one question about identification, and it's very difficult to do that without imagery.
It's very difficult to do that without any knowledge.
Yeah, but I'm gonna just try and describe what you're looking or what everyone's looking at.
Or it's a good
for the
excuse to
viewer.
go and check out the video,
It is
even
good
just to
excuse,
skip through and get to this to that point.
That's it. Yeah, come and watch the YouTube. Yeah, do you know what? I'm not going to help you. Just come on YouTube. Deal with yourself. You're grown adults. So what we're going to do then is we're going to break down this feature using the highbrow's life stages, in which we will discover why they are so vulnerable to extinction, and we're going to start at the place we all start in life, as a little fertilized egg. So highbrow eggs are shaped like jelly tots, so they're little rounded pyramids, if you like. They are 0.8 of a millimeter high, very, very tiny. And to start are a pale green yellow, gradually deepening in color to pinkish apricot with glassy white keels or ribs down their length. And they are laid generally in July or August, but whilst the larvae seem to be formed within about a month of being laid, the eggs don't actually hatch until March, or more specifically when warmer spring weather tends to set in, because animals don't use the Gregorian calendar. So your first question to the two of you, and also people to listeners. Question number one. The eggs are usually laid near the food plant, or sometimes on it. What is the food plant of the highbrow fritillary caterpillar? So you've got four options. A is common gorse. B is common dog violet. C is common dandelion. Or D is chocolate hobnob.
Well, it's quite clearly that one, isn't it? Reveal or are we
Reveal,
doing
go.
this?
What have
Okay.
we gone? We've gone for.
Gareth,
I can't even see yours.
Sorry.
It's too small. All right, there we go. Right, we've got an A and a B. So the correct answer was B.
Yay.
Way. Gareth, give yourself a point. I'm gonna let you guys
Okay,
do
I
your
will.
points.
I will put like a point next to my
Yeah.
little
If-
one that I wrote there.
People who are watching on YouTube, if you've seen that either of these two are cheating, we will come back to this and thrash them. Anyway, so Gareth gets 1 point. So because he got the
Okay.
dog violet. So the dog violet is the primary. Yeah, he's a good little student area.
Well, no, gorse is too common, and dandelion's too common as well.
I
They
mean,
were both cool.
they're all called common.
That means nothing.
No, it's true.
That's true, that is, yeah.
But yeah, the dog violet is the primary food plant. Though they do also feed on the hairy violet, the heath dog violet, and the pale dog violet. But all the different species, they're all within the same genus, and they're all popular with many species of fritillary. So the others are good food plants, obviously, but not for this butterfly, except for, and obviously the chocolate hobnob is not a food plant for any butterfly. It is the food plant of me. So for no points at all, do you guys know what dog means in plant names? Well, I might give you a point actually. If you do
Yes, I do actually.
do you?
Okay, if it's anything like dogwood,
Yeah,
it comes from the Old English daug or daug,
yeah.
meaning like dowel or pole. Is it
Uh,
completely different for this one then?
No, it's not that.
Okay, because that's what the sticks of dogwood was supposed to be.
Should I give you guys a bit of a clue? Because there is a sweet violet as well. There's a sweet violet and a dog violet.
So it's a bitter tasting plant.
No,
Sour.
no,
Salty.
no. I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
Go on then.
It has no smell at all. Dog,
Right, okay.
So if a plant has got dog in front of it, it means it's completely you can't smell it.
Oh, I wonder if that's because that's what I'd heard for dogwood. Is it was the straight sticks on dogwood, where it's an Old English word for like steak or like kebab stick. you
Well,
know?
possibly. I mean, there might be another wood called stinky wood, and that's why that was called
Yeah,
wood.
yeah, fair enough.
Who knows? Anyway, on a bit of a tangent. So if you know anything about dog violet, you might know that it is quite common, but these butterflies are not. So what gives? But we will get there. Be patient. That wasn't a question for you guys. You don't need to write that one down. So anyway, we've got to the eggs. They've now hatched. We have high brown caterpillars now taking their first steps and eating delicious dog violet. Your next question, question 2 or 3, I guess, in the chronology of this. What kind of habitat do you imagine high brown caterpillars are living in? So you've got multiple choice again. So we've got A, mixed wetland or bog. B, limestone rock outcrops. C is dense temperate woodland, or D is bracken dominated habitats. What
Probably wrong on this
what
one.
kind of habitat are they living in?
What are you doing?
What are you
Drawing
doing?
a picture or something?
Okay, right. Feel to reveal. What have you got? So you've both gone B. You've both gone for limestone rock.
Let me guess. It's going to be A.
You're actually correct.
Oh,
Because
Hey.
2 of those answers were actually correct. So it's a little bit of a trick question. So Morecambe Bay is a limestone outcrop, and it's one of the 4 places that you can find this butterfly if you're listening. But it's the bracken-dominated habitats that we're going to focus on today. So B and D were both correct,
wow.
but we don't have any of B in Devon. We've got D. Take that what you will. So, bracken. It gets a bad rap sometimes, but it is good for wildlife up to a point. Stop giggling. So bracken is a lot.
So funny.
I don't even know. I didn't even say something funny, I don't think. Anyway, maybe I did. So bracken is a large fern. It favours acidic soils, and it is a successful colonizer that can form a dense monoculture, if left unmanaged. So you've got your next question. So you're going to have to think about this one, Aaron, whilst you're giggling. So the management of bracken.
Come back to us.
The management of bracken is essential for these butterflies and many other species. What methods would you use to manage bracken? And this is going to be multiple choice, but I'm going to say choose all of these that apply. Because some of these are good, some of these maybe are not. So are you ready for all the methods that you can use to manage bracken? Come, you're back with us, Aaron. Back with us.
I'm back.
All right. So we've got A is cattle, B is sheep, C is pigs, D is cutting, E is burning, F is raking, or G is chemical spray. Right, are you both ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so Aaron has got, oh, I can't read yours, Aaron. Aaron has got A, C, and E. So you've got cattle, pigs, and burning.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gareth
I
has
have gone sheep, I think.
Yeah, C
Cutting.
pigs,
Oh, is it?
C is pigs, D
Yeah.
was cutting,
Yeah.
E was
Burning.
burning,
Yeah.
and G was chemical spray.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, let's pull this one apart. So most of those techniques I use with varying effectiveness. So again, I'm going to rely on you guys to give yourselves scores here. Generally,
Do we get a point for each one?
so you get a point for each one. There is a caveat though.
No.
Generally, the best are cattle.
That was A.
So that was A. Point for cattle. And pigs, which is C.
See, I thought cattle would have issues with it. I don't know
Oh,
why.
really? Well, I'll explain why they're both good, because both of them will trample through or
Yeah, that's
uproot
good.
bracken and other plants. So you get a point for both of those. So A and C you get points for. If you don't have cattle or pigs, not you guys, just in general, you can cut and rake manually to simulate something like a cow or a
Okay.
pig trampling through it. So you get points for cutting, which is D, and F for raking. So Gareth gets one, I think.
I got one.
Yeah.
I got 2.
Controlled burning and chemical spray can work, but
Oh.
they are the absolute last option. So, although that means they are an option, they're not a very good one. So, no points for.
Oh, you didn't say whether they were good or bad options.
Well,
Did he?
I am now.
He's moving the goalpost.
Yeah.
I'm moving the
Yeah.
goalpost because it's my creature future and I'll do what I want. So don't get points for those two. And then Gareth, did you also have B as well, sheep?
Yes.
You do not get a point for sheep.
Ah,
In
you get
fact,
minus
minus
points for
2
that.
points for sheep.
minus
Yeah,
2 points.
2 points off for sheep, Gareth. Let me explain why. And
Yeah, well, I
not-
knew
in
one of
not
them-
just a few words.
I knew one of them was going to end up being like the horrific one. I took a chance on
Yeah.
sheep being the good one and cattle being the bad one.
Well, simple reason. We're going to simple reason to start with, and if you just listen to this one reason, that's good enough. Simple reason: the only good sheep is a dead sheep. Sheep can be effective in small numbers in specific habitats, but as a general rule, I would say personally that sheep are a parasitic blight, a cloudy white blemish on our countryside. Their grazing habitats are to trimming grass and flowering plants down to a certain level and to keep them at that level. They are lawnmowers, and we all know how bad constant lawnmowing is. It's making you feel bad, Gareth.
I mean, it's making me feel bad for the sheep, if anything.
Well, you shouldn't. They're also complete whips. They don't tackle big vegetation. They also don't tackle big vegetation like bracken or bramble or gorse. They'll allow it to grow unhindered whilst they relentlessly batter their pasture and leave only a couple of species of grass in their wake. The UK's ecosystem has been devastated by the stupid number of not even profitable sheep we have. So minus 2 points for sheep, Gareth.
I've done that. Yeah.
Yep, good. There's your reasoning. So I'm going to jump off my anti-sheep agenda. We've got that off my chest. And we're going to return to these wonderful butterflies in their lovely bracken forest. I forget about all the sheep because they're awful. And that is basically what bracken is to us.
What do the sheep do to hurt you, Drew?
They've ruined our ecosystem, Gary. That's what they did.
Fair enough.
They hurt everything. But yeah, so bracken is to a small animal basically a forest. It's the equivalent to woodland to us.
Mm.
So effectively what you're aiming for with your management techniques is areas of bracken that is dead. So your next question, why is dead bracken in a bracken dominated habitat important? Again, choose all that apply. So A is that it allows for the ground to be more damp. Let me think about that. B, it allows in more light for other plants. C, it decreases the localized temperature. Or D, it increases the localized temperature. Or E, bracken is a weed and its sins are on par with the sins of sheep. The only good bracken is a dead bracken.
Was that E?
That was E.
You got to E.
I'll give you a clue. E is a joke answer. Right, have you got your answers? Do you want to flip them?
Yeah, I was just trying to draw some bracken. It didn't turn out well.
Oh, okay, all right. So we've got BDE from Aaron and ABD from Gareth.
I've got bad. He's got bed.
So you get points for B and D.
Yay.
Yeah, buddy.
Points for B and D. So B obviously it allows in more light for other plants, and D increases the localized temperature. So dead bracken serves as a microclimate. The patches or pathways of dead bracken, like an actual woodland of trees, allows light in for other plants, like dog violet, for example. So piles of dead bracken are warm. They can be 10 to 20 degrees warmer than the ambient temperature. And this benefits our hatched caterpillars who require hot temperatures so they can develop quickly. So our caterpillars are having a great time in their microclimate, sunbathing, munching on dog violet, and hiding in the dense vegetation should they need to avoid predators. And because I haven't described them yet, we're going to do that quickly now. So high brown caterpillars are brown. That helps them blend in with the dead bracken, and they have 5 molts until they become a butterfly, over which they get increasingly bigger and change their appearance slightly. Again, this is almost as similar to most caterpillars.
Almost all insects.
Yeah. So in the early stages, they are tiny, 2 to 3 millimeters long, and they have little warts over the segments of their body. And as they molt, they get to 38 millimeters long, and the warts or bumps turn into hairy orangey colored spikes. So after about 9 weeks as a caterpillar, they form themselves into a pupa. That's a funny word, isn't it? Or chrysalis. So next question. Your next question. What does the high brown pupa look like? Does it look like A, the rotting skull of a sheep, B, a dead shriveled leaf, C, the physical manifestation of my increasing doubt that I can function as a capable adult in our modern Machiavellian society?
That's a hard list to choose from.
Yeah.
I'm
What have we got?
going to go with that one.
Yeah.
It seems logical.
It does seem logical, doesn't it?
I'm
Shockingly.
starting to think it's A though.
Wow.
It's too late for that.
It is a shriveled leaf. So you both get a point for B.
Oh.
The other answers were, of course, all very silly,
No.
except for C, which is a genuine clear. Please send help. So after about 3 weeks, our pupa hatches, and we're on to the really good stuff, the butterfly itself. So the high brown fritillary, in its final form, is a large butterfly with a wingspan of 60 to 67 millimeters. So 6 centimeters, basically, or just over. It is a beautiful bright golden orange color with black, slightly checkered patterning. In the final form, they don't live very long. So before their inevitable demise, they will frantically fly around trying to find a mate, mating, which takes an hour, scouring bracken to lay their eggs, and feeding on nectar of bramble, thistle, knapweed, and ragwort, to name a few. To restore
That
their
actually
energy.
covers what I was going to actually ask you at some
Oh,
point.
so what
Do they feed?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they got to spend a lot of energy.
And how long they last?
Only for a month or so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're very, very speedy and swift in flight, and usually that's all you see of them, making them very hard to identify with other similar species. Speaking of identification, this is the one question that requires a visual element. So feel free to come and check this episode out on YouTube or Google image the species, but I will try and help you visualize what we're looking at as best as I can. So I'm going to show.
Draw it, are you?
Are you going to draw it? Good.
I think he's drawing
I thought that was what your question was.
No.
Started early.
I'm going to show Aaron and Gareth pictures of a high brown fritillary,
Oh,
and
well,
its
there we
more generalist, less sensitive, and more common cousin, the dark green fritillary. So you're basically going to play spot the difference and tell me which one is which. Ignore the fact that one is called the high brown and the other one is called the dark green. The colours are completely irrelevant because some high browns are green underneath as well. So we are going to start on the upper wings. Yeah, they are. We're going to start on the upper wings, and I'm going to show this to you both. Gareth, obviously, I'll send these pictures over to you so you can feel free to put them up on the screen. So we've got one butterfly on the left and another species on the right. Can you tell me which one is which? Actually, if you write down which one
Left or right?
Yeah, if you write down which one you think is the high brown, left or right.
Can I have just a couple more seconds to look at this?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
I'm
get
going
the feel-
to keep it like that
Okay.
so that you can see it.
Okay.
They are remarkably similar, aren't they?
Yep. I will
Left
just
and right.
I will just
Have to double check
blow
left
my own
and right
trumpet
there.
as well. I did take both of these pictures.
Oh, did you?
Oh, actually, no. My partner took one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're good pictures.
Yeah.
Well done, and worth shouting out there that Drew's partner Jess
Yeah.
does a lot of the social media work for us.
She
The
does.
Twitter, yeah.
And does the quizzes for us too when we do them, and we are
Oh, we might be doing
bringing them
another.
back.
Wow. Okay, so what have you both got? Which one do you think is the high brown?
Oh, good. We've gone.
Yeah, I know.
different
Different
ones.
one. So Aaron, you've gone for left. Garen, Gareth, you've gone for right. Why do you think why have you picked that? Why have you done this?
The one thing that stood out in my mind from
Yep.
your description of them was the checkerboard, and
Yep.
whilst they are both
They're both very checkable.
very checkerboardy, I kind of like and as I point, I realise that
No.
actually they're almost identical.
Yep.
Um,
This is why I've gone with my version.
I think it's this one. It's just very that there is very much more checkerboard than that,
Okay.
and also some of this up here. It just I don't know. I'm ignorant.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know why I've gone?
Go on,
with
and
the
you,
one-
yeah, you go.
Mine is a total guess.
Yeah.
Because they are both nigh on identical.
Yeah, just for audio listeners, because obviously you can't see these pictures. We are looking at two, as I'm sure you can guess, two very similar looking butterflies. They're both orange. They've both got checkerboard black patterns. I will kind of explain to you actually how you can tell the difference between the top.
The
But yeah,
only
go on.
reason I've gone for the one that I've gone for is because I believe that the one on the right is the one that you did the artwork from.
Oh, come on.
Interesting.
That's just purely it.
How
That's-
he's used he's done a bit of a curveball there.
Yep,
He's
yep.
gone around the question.
I
He's
don't.
focused on the box.
I mean, it's probably totally wrong.
I didn't use one of these as the artwork, by the way.
There you go.
Well, there we go. You're
however-
to cheat.
However,
It's not cheating. It's putting together
Yeah.
other clues to help me formulate a plan.
However, Gareth does get a point because that is the
Whee!
so the high ground is on the right. So again, whoever's editing this one, make sure you put the high ground on the right for people watching. So the high brown is on the right. So I'll explain how you tell the difference between a dark green and a high brown fritillary. By the way, also these two are exactly the same size as well.
They do
They're-
look it.
They're
yeah.
exactly the same size. So the way you tell them apart is, again, for audio, for people listening, there are a number of little dots just kind of outside, just kind of inside of the hind wing.
This is on the non-high brown that you're talking about at the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, they've both got a line of dots.
Yeah.
So both the high brown and the dark green have got a load of dots that's quite close to the border of the wing at the bottom of it. The dark green, that third dot is in line with the first two.
Okay.
On the high brown,
Oh yeah.
it is out of line with
It
the first two
steps out.
dots. That is the only way you can tell the difference on the top.
Wow.
Unless you're looking at a male high brown, but we can skip that. But there's another way of doing it. But that is how you tell the difference from the top of the wing. So we're also going to look at the underwings as well, and you guys are going to tell me which one you think is which as well.
I'm feeling confident because of my guess being totally and utterly random. So,
Well,
you know.
So
Okay.
which one is which? You write it down again. Which one?
So
Which
left
one
and
was
right
it?
again.
Left and right again. Have I swept them over? Is it the same way
Is it
around?
the same butterfly
Is it the
on the
same
same plant?
Who knows? It could be a different butterfly. on a
Well,
different
I'm
plant.
gonna point out that that's a thistle again, and that's that looks like valerian,
It is Valerian, yes.
and that's what the two previous ones were.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I don't know why I'm doing that.
Yeah.
He's getting it all right.
Have I done a bluff? It is well within
I know.
my
It's,
nature.
it's well within what something you would do.
It's what-
You know, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go with my initial assumption.
Yeah. So which one is the high brown?
I think it's the one on the right.
So you've chosen different ones
Exact
again.
opposite. Yeah.
Swapped over.
It is the same butterfly, which means that the high brown is now on the left
Yes.
and the dark green is on the right.
Plants
did-
for the win.
I did hope when I picked all these pictures out, I didn't even notice. Oh, they're on the same food plot. And then when I gathered them all up a couple of days ago, I went, oh no, they're on the same food plot. Maybe they won't notice. Maybe they're
I'm gonna notice the plant.
No.
I was looking. Can you just about see it through there or not? The spots.
That's what I was looking at. The spots.
Yes. So the high brown underneath has. So again, we're looking at two butterflies underneath the wing. They have a row of red dots in between the two white dots on the lower of the two wings.
The white
which-
dots are really stunning on these.
Yeah, in which the dark green doesn't have at all. So if you can get an undershot of one of them, it's a lot easier to tell what you're looking at than trying to find that third dot on the wing of those. Oh yeah, I can see where you can see though, where you're looking through.
Yeah,
the wing to
looking
see
where
the
it's
third
glowing
dot as well.
through.
Yeah. Whereas you can't. Yeah, you can't see it on that one. So there we go. We have identified some butterflies. So we've looked at the difference between the high brown and the dark green. To what have you written? Okay.
You're passing notes. The
So
teacher.
to make things even more difficult, whilst the high brown and the dark green live in the same habitats, I saw that. Aaron has written my co-hosts suck.
Includes him as well, you know.
It does include me.
Yeah, it's both of you.
Yeah.
Hosts, plural.
Whilst these two species of butterfly live in the same habitats and they're the same size and they frequent the same plants and even fly together, there are also other fritillaries knocking about that look very similar. So like the small pearl bordered, which is a smaller, than the other two and has an underwing like stained glass. The pearl bordered, which is similar to the small pearl but bigger, and the silver wash fritillary, which is the largest of all of them, but only by a centimetre, but otherwise very similar patterning with a silver sheened underside. Basically, it's a minefield if you don't know what you're out looking for. But what helps with high brown identification is its limited distribution. How many areas in the UK can you find them, guys? That's your next question.
What, the high brown
The high brown fritillary. How many areas in the UK can you find them? I'm not going to give you any more choice because you should have been listening.
What I was
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
You confused me because I thought you'd already told us that.
Yeah.
Four.
Wow, they have been listening. You both get a point.
For a brief moment there, I was like,
Yeah.
was it 4 or was it 5?
So if you're not in any of those 4 areas and you see a fritillary, it's probably not a high brown. But that is the life cycle of the high brown, and we are very nearly done. So I want to finish on why they've declined so much, and also the good news on that as well, because there is some. So the simple reason for their decline, to no shock to anyone, I'm sure, is the change of management practices of our countryside. These butterflies require mosaics of trampled/dead bracken and coppiced woodland, both of which would be historically achieved naturally by large herbivores like aurochs that you've covered and bison that you've covered, and then also by cattle and pigs and ponies after humans came along. Ponies also, we didn't mention them, but you can also use ponies to achieve the same effect, but not quite as good as cattle and pigs. Much better than sheep, though. Agriculture has more recently turned intensive, and many species have dropped significantly because of it. So since 1978, the distribution of high brown fritillary has declined by 87%, and their population has dropped by 65%. So they've gone from being very widespread to being in a very worrying state. But the good news is that this decline has, it's been long noticed, and it has been acted upon already. So Butterfly Conservation, that's the charity, put in place an action plan back in 1995, and efforts have only increased since then. There is a particular focus on the remaining high brown sites that they're still found in, and population numbers are doing well in those sites. So much so that in 2022, just 2 years ago, they went from being critically endangered in the UK to endangered. So conservation grazing with cows, pigs, and to a lesser extent ponies is a big part of the ongoing recovery, allowing the animals to temporarily roam and naturally trample through bracken to create microhabitats that benefit not just these butterflies, but many other insects, as well as reptiles, birds, and small mammals. The important thing is, though, is not to let them roam on those habitats constantly. You need to move them on to somewhere else and keep that circulation going.
Naturally, they'd be migrating.
Exactly, because they would be followed by wolves or something that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So woodland glade creation as well is important, and that's through coppicing and pollarding. That provides greater diversity of plants for the adult butterflies so they can find nectar sources and also to travel more easily from site to site. And it is good for the woodland as well, because it allows more plants to flourish. And it'd be nice to not to have to manage woodland through manual labor, but because we no longer have the large herbivores that would manage it naturally, we have to simulate their behavior. And it's important to remember, I think, that while tree planting and having more trees is well and good, it isn't always the answer. It has to be done carefully so that we're not wiping out other habitats in the process of planting more trees. We should also think about how we treat bracken and how we manage it. It's often seen as something to be torched and destroyed, or just not bothering with it and just leaving it to grow unabated, and neither are good environmentally. But that really is the high brown fritillary. I've only been properly interested in butterflies for a short time, to my shame, but I've seen a couple of high browns now, as we've displayed with the picture, and I will be out this year to find them again. In fact, just 2 days ago, I did go out. However, the butterfly that I saw, the fritillary I saw, I couldn't identify if it was a high brown or a dark green because it wasn't sitting it was sitting horizontally from me, so I couldn't see the top of the wing or the underneath, so I couldn't quite tell which one it was.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. But yeah, I will be out properly again to try and find them because I know they're out there now. But yeah, I have to say I rate them a 10 out of 10. They are incredible. I give the dark greens a 9.5 because obviously they're just as beautiful because they look basically the same. But there's something special when you see a high brown in front of you because you know that you've got something incredibly rare right there, and that gives them the slight edge.
Is it sort of a case of, can we get high brown fritillaries? We've got high brown fritillaries at home.
Yes.
That sort of,
and it's a dark green.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Dark greens, I should say, like they are common and they're pretty much found all across the UK. So like if you don't get a chance to see a high brown, but you want to see what it could look like, go look at some dark greens, and it's basically nearly the same. Not that there's, I'm not trying to say that the highbrows don't have any value. But yeah, so they are a sensitive but absolutely gorgeous butterfly, worthy of their very flagship status in the few sites that they're found. They're a victim of a changed landscape and one of the many species benefiting from proactive people acting up on solutions to better manage our countryside for us and for wildlife. If you want to get a chance to see Britain's rarest butterfly, the time is very much now, so late June or July. My new wife and I will be out in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, as we'd like to make a tradition of it for our engagement. But with that, let's see how you guys did. Who can we give the title to the Butter Boy? So Aaron has got
I got 7
points,
Or
and Gareth, the
even
professor,
though I lost,
even though he
two.
lost 2 from sheep, Gareth has got 8.
I'm the butter. I mean,
Gareth is
it just feels like you're calling me fat. I mean, I can go with that. It just,
I wasn't going there whatsoever at all. You take whatever you like.
I'll take the win.
You take
body shame up
take
there.
the win. No, we don't body shame.
I'll take the win.
They're a big, beautiful butterfly. But yeah, that is it. That's the highbrow fritillary. So I've not been on the podcast for a while. I hope that was worth it. If it wasn't, whatever.
That was good.
Yeah.
Are you going to try and get us some footage of some?
I will try. I will do my
Yeah.
best. Yeah,
I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of just very quick
well, unless
through
so
break.
the one in that photo stayed still for probably about 10 minutes,
Oh,
which
that's
was
not bad.
really lucky. And also we walked like the entire length of kind of the walk that you're supposed to do to try and find them, and we did see loads, like I say, flying around, but we couldn't identify many of them positively. And then we got all the way down back to the bottom where the road is,
And they were right by the car
there was
park.
one right by the car park. Yeah,
Always the way.
one right by the car park on a bit of thistle. So sometimes that's all you need. You just need a bit of luck, and you can see the UK's rarest
Right place, right
butterfly.
time.
Right place, right time. What's that?
So obviously you won't know when, but is there any species that you would like to cover in future? Is there any one in particular that you're interested
The
in?
highbrow was always one anyway, because I dropped out in July last year, which was
And
or end of July. Which
and
is
your
when-
last
when they
one
got-
was the fox, as
was
you
the
said
fox.
earlier, which is an animal that's special to you as
Yeah.
well.
Well, technically, I did come on for the Satanic Nightjar as well, didn't I?
Yes, you
That's
did.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
You bailed us out.
I did. I did. Yeah, there are. I'd have to. I've got a Gareth laptop anyway, so I can't see my list. But yeah, there are probably some other animals that I would do, but the highbrow was the top of my list.
Well, interesting you say about which ones you'd want to do, Drew, because we do know that you are coming back more
Do we?
in some way. Well, we do know to
Have I
an
agreed
extent.
this?
It's a threat.
We're telling you now.
Okay.
Because coming up by the time this episode airs, our Patreons will be wanting to know within the week or so after this, we're going to be using you guys as our guinea pigs, hopefully, to test out us doing live streams where we're going to be going and doing some slightly different things along the way. So I think
we've got some ideas.
yeah, things like board games, that sort of stuff. There's actually off to the side here a massive list on a chart here.
Yeah. It's like that. Is it always sunny?
Oh yeah,
Whereas-
Pepe Sylvia
Yeah,
all
yeah,
over it.
yeah.
But we're going to be using our Patreons for that. So if you're interested in doing that, you could in fact join our Patreons and become one of our guinea pigs for that test. If not, we will actually be sort of looking at doing this more in the future on YouTube as a live stream thing, because it seems everyone seems to do those sort of things every now and again.
Yeah.
And you get to see us a bit more away from doing our structured creature feature things and something a bit more
Just having a bit of
Yeah,
fun
different.
in the natural history cupboard. In the natural history cupboard,
yeah.
having a bit of fun and inviting you guys along with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So stay tuned
Incidentally,
for
that's
that.
actually why Drew was saying about at the top of the episode, you were saying about why do we have so many locks on here? What you
Yeah,
don't know
exactly.
is that's how we're planning to keep you in the cupboard. this
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Oh, I see.
This get used to it. This is your new home.
Yeah.
Let's move on very quickly, shall we, into our emails?
Do you want to just quickly mention as well, because like just to make it clear, so a lot of the stuff, the ideas that we've got out will come out on YouTube. So if you're not a Patreon, you will see some of them, but the Patrons will get more basically,
Yeah,
and earlier as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
give us loads of money. I've not even interacted with any of the Patreon.
I was gonna
so
say-
that's my only interaction with you is just like just give us money. Just
I
do
like
it,
we're
just do it,
already
please.
pummeling
Please.
people for Patreon, and we haven't even.
They've locked me away for years. Please give us money.
Let's go to emails.
Let's go.
Bing! You've got mail. Ooh, it's an email.
Right, well, we're into this week's emails, and I'm going to start things off with last week's question, which was, what pop culture person or creature or entity would you want a species named after, and why? There's some good ones for
There
this,
was
actually.
some good ones. It's not much.
So our first one comes from Jen Babs, and has put a subspecies of thylacine called Nat History Cupboard Eye, which, I mean, yeah, all right, we'll take that. I think we can take that. That sounds good.
We'll email Professor Andrew Pass.
There's-
we'll get on
there's
that.
Worse people that animals being named after.
Well, that's true, actually. Yeah.
Michelle said Maya Angelou, and they would have to be an erudite species. Maya Angelou is a civil rights activist and a poet.
And Spencer Seams has said a new hyena species named after Jabril Diop Mambeti. He was the director of Hyenas in 1992, and Tuki Buki, which is also, as Spencer says, Journey of the Hyena in 1973. He was a Senegalese director and actor.
Nice. Yeah.
I have no idea what that film is like, but I'm hoping it's got hyenas in it, or is it one of those ones that is just? I know we didn't look that up, but
Well, like Troll 2 that has no trolls in it.
yeah, basically, right? You know,
You guys haven't seen that film, have you?
I think I've seen the first Trolls.
Oh,
Or
it's
Troll?
not related. It's not related as well. It's of no relation to Troll 1.
Oh, and that's not the small ones with the hair. That's
No.
Troll Hunter or whatever. Anyway, that's yeah. So
Anyway.
Matt Jack Dupe has put a new iguanodontid named after Aladar from the Disney dinosaur film, my favorite childhood film. I was never a fan of that.
That's
film in
interesting,
some
guys,
ways, but-
because someone has responded to that saying "good shout."
That would
Was
that would be
oh,
him.
was you? I was,
Yeah, that'd be him.
that was me, because I like.
I did enjoy aspects of that film, but there's just bits of it I didn't. Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with the film, as you guys can attest to, because before we were recording, I admitted that I thought that would make Matt Jack Duke incredibly young, because I thought that came out like a couple of years ago. But it apparently
been
it
out
came
for
out
a
in the
while.
early 2000s, so
Yeah,
I was wrong there.
It looks
So-
very, very good for its age.
Yeah, it does. It does well.
I
It does do
Visually,
well.
it's
I don't
very
have any
nice.
idea what it is, to be honest. I just like the fact that he liked the dinosaur thing when he was younger, and it stuck with him that much that he's
My biggest issue is that the Carnotauruses in it are giant, bigger than a T-Rex-esque, super hyper carnivore. I mean, Carnotaurus was a decent sized predator, but they're making it out like it's the be all and end all carnivore in the world. And I think they obviously wanted to go with something different from a T-Rex because of the whole Jurassic Park
Yeah.
effect of things.
Yeah.
But there are so many other dinosaurs they could have picked over Carnotaurus.
also Carnotaurus looks scary, doesn't it? Because the
Yeah,
horns on
but
the head.
the worst thing about it is his arms are too long. You know, there's no
Yeah.
way that Carnotaurus is not doing the little.
I was going to say he's. I think it's a crime that he didn't do this.
Yeah,
Wow,
needs
yeah.
to have that. Needs
Yeah.
to have that.
Aaron is waving his arms around like the. kind
Oh
of-
yeah, of course. Sorry, audio listeners. that
Wow,
are-
you guys have dumped on your audio.
Yeah.
I mean, I have as well. To be fair, this episode. So.
Well, that's that was our questions from last week. This week we thought, based on your highbrow fritillary, Drew.
Yeah.
Well, we'd ask people what their favorite butterfly is.
Yeah, and send pictures of them on the
Yeah.
on the socials as well. If you've got pictures that you've taken of something, it doesn't have to be UK.
No, no.
It could be something else. A few, like about a month or so ago now, I saw some monarchs in. So I was on a little holiday after the wedding, in Gibraltar. I've never seen monarch butterflies before. They don't normally come over to Europe, but they sort of occasionally decide to. I'm just going to go across the Atlantic for some reason because they're from North America. They're absolutely incredible. And there's that place in Mexico where there's, I think it was on Planet Earth, wasn't it, where they do their massive migration.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a huge number of them. But yeah, they're absolutely incredible butterflies. But yeah, send us your butters.
my favorite one, and I've only ever seen them twice, and I've never got a good picture of one, is the butterfly, the hummingbird hawk moth.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Moths included. So
Moths, yeah, sure, moths included.
Yeah.
We're not, you know.
I think
prejudice.
personally, any of the hawk moths, I think that's some of the prettiest moths around.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Any of our Australian listeners, giant bogong moths, the big ones that you get, those are ones that are impressive. So if anyone's got any good photos of those, send those in. Yeah, that's just one way that you can interact with us. You can send us your
Nobody cares what I think about butterflies anyway.
oh yeah, it's a good.
You were
We'll
busy.
scrap
You looked.
that.
You looked.
Yeah,
busy.
you were.
I was just double
Right, no,
checking
go
that I
on,
had the right one.
throw your one in.
Yeah,
My favorite one is the Atlas moth, because I actually saw one in a 7-Eleven in Thailand.
yeah. Nice.
Okay,
That's where they normally hang out. Isn't
It's where they normally hang out. Yeah, I believe it was on it was down the aisle, and I went
down
to
the
have
butterfly aisle.
I went like a snack aisle, and I went down to have a look and see what was there. But I wanted to see the moth, and so I went down there. And as I got close to the moth, I realised that this is a really weird kind of like almost Walker's crisp packet of like fried squid.
Nice.
Like packets of fried squid that you eat like crisps.
So it was the invertebrate aisle.
And I thought, yeah, I thought I'm gonna have to try one of those. So yeah, I tried it.
Are you still trying to digest it?
Okay,
It was
well,
really quite a weird
dried
sensation.
squid.
It was
Fair enough.
It was chewy and sweet, as I remember.
Interesting.
The squid, not the Atlas moth.
Yeah,
The Atlas
yeah.
moth was stunning.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've
anything
never
about
seen.
moths, so
I've only seen
that's
pictures. I've never actually seen one, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, you can get in contact with us about that and send us your pictures or which your favorite moth or butterfly is on our Facebook page. You can also comment in the YouTube comments down below, presumably, or pointing down there. But that's just one of the many ways that you can get in contact with us. There are various other ways that you can get in contact with us throughout the social media platforms that we're on: Facebook, Twitter, any of those different places. You can send us in your questions, news articles, or whatever. But one place that you can definitely get in contact with us, and like we were saying before, we'll be using as guinea pigs in the future, is our Patreons. And Aaron's going to tell us all about them.
That's right, Gareth. Every week we like to give a little love back by shouting out the names of our wonderful Patreon supporters. Yeah, and these are the cupboard dwellers who are kind enough to support us through a monetary contribution, for which we are grateful beyond words. And those people are, of course, Fogtober, Jen Greenhall, Connie P, Chelsea McKee, Nick Tinnick, and Justin Knife. Guys, your financial contributions are actively helping us here in the Natural History Cupboard in a myriad of ways, including obviously maintaining this studio, which has been a game changer, really. Planning excursions like our one to Land Regis for the Fossil Festival 2024, considering technical upgrades like the still absent better video equipment that we keep promising, and actually making the jump from a solely audio-based podcast to a growing YouTube channel. And actually, what we were talking about earlier on as well, these live game things that we're going to start doing, that is because of our Patreon supporters. So when we do start bringing that out to you guys, the main bulk of our viewers and listeners, you have our Patreons to thank for that, as we do. We really can't thank you enough. No.
And also your financial contributions have helped for the chain and shackle that's currently holding Drew in position.
All the locks on the
Yeah.
door.
Well, the locks failed though, to be honest. So I think we need a bit more.
Well, we have
Yeah.
Uh,
They need more. I don't. I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy being free now.
we appreciate it. Happy being free. We appreciate all of our cupboard dwellers and the support you offer us through liking, listening, sharing, and subscribing. But if you feel we've earned it and you're considering joining our Patreon, there are two options through which you can do so: the Nature Nerds and the Animal Ambassadors. And more on those at another time. But yeah, once again, thank you very much for your continued support.
Yes, thank you. I know I joke a lot, but generally, thank you a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, like I say, that's one way you can get in contact with us and help us out. Probably one of the biggest and easiest ways you can get in contact. Probably one of the biggest and easiest ways that you can help us out is by liking, sharing, subscribing, whatever platform you are listening or watching us on. Just basically push that bell, subscribe, like. This within the last couple of weeks, our numbers have gone upwards considerably, which is all down to you guys as well. So tell a friend, tell an enemy, shout it at a butterfly, even if it's not a high-brown fritillary.
It's worth mentioning, actually, talking about you guys shouting us out. Thank you to Jen Greenhall, because I keep seeing notifications saying she's tagged us in on other
People's
related
things. Yeah,
peoples and pages and stuff, and that's just fantastic. So
yeah,
thanks a lot, Jen, for that.
yeah, no, that's really good. But that pretty much brings us to the end of this week's episode. So big thank you, Drew.
I'll go back, shall I?
No, you're not allowed. You're chained there now. You didn't notice.
I didn't.
So yeah, big thank you for coming in.
That's all right, I guess. Thank you for letting me back on.
It's been good.
Talking about some butterflies.
We're gonna have to rectify that, and one of us is gonna have to do a butterfly species now.
Well, we probably should do.
Maybe I'll do Atlas Moth one day.
Maybe someone.
I'm sorry.
Maybe someone should do a purple emperor. They're pretty good.
I'm sure we could probably tally up species that you've not touched.
Well, me.
Yeah.
You
You have not done a spider.
Yes, I have.
Oh, you have actually.
I've done
Yeah,
the
you did the
ladybird
ladybird
spider.
spider.
Oh,
I've not done a spider. Hang on.
no, you've done the like.
Neither
I
of
have, yeah. I did the
neither-
tarantula.
your podcast.
neither of you
I'm your one. Did you do that?
neither of you have done a Synephrodon. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who's done that one.
Okay. Oh no, I've not done
What's
this.
It's that one.
We'll
Oh,
There's only one.
come on.
oh yes, sorry, yes.
All right, he's not done a dromaeosaur.
No, I've not done.
He's
I've not done many dinosaurs to be honest,
Nah.
because I've left that to you guys because you are more knowledgeable. As Aaron said, you guys are more knowledgeable on those, so I've left that to you.
Fair enough.
And also, there's less to talk about. I think generally.
Right. Well, yeah.
On that one.
Anyway,
On that note,
that's why they don't let me out. I come out with my opinions. They should have got me.
and a big thank you to you at home for watching, and we'll see you next time here in the Natural History Cupboard. Bye.
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 One does not simply recover a decimated countryside from sheep. Slaughter! Slaughter all the lambs. I want to hear their bleating cries across this country.